If not for motorsports, I probably would have been known to be a cripple. Lived with a very strong dream. I think more than my dream, it was a mother's dream.
A story of inspiration.
Today, I proudly stand as the only differently able driver in the country.
This story will change your life.
The one in Asia to win a championship without two legs. In fact, the initial years of racing, many people didn't know about my deformity.
A star. They say Tale, but he said, don't call me Tale. Now we're into racing.
He's himself. He's not pretending to be somebody. He's loving the sport so much. He's supporting the sport so much. The federation felt that I could be a potential danger to other drivers. You were born on the wrong side of the planet. If you were on other side of the planet, you would be celebrated. People would be walking in with money to support you and to fuel your dream, but it's not going to happen here. Do you realize that? I said, yeah, I do.
An entrepreneur said that I want India's flag on the racing track.
Unfortunately, we couldn't see Indian drivers in it. My mother used to challenge them, saying that this boy is going to become a somebody. I'm not going to let him be a nobody sitting down there.
Sometimes they say life is a race. For some people, racing is life. But let's talk about the similarity between life and a racing track. Everybody wants to compete, but only one person will win. Now tell me, what does it take to win? Do you have to be the fastest? Do you have to be the strongest? Or do you have to be the smartest? I have a story that says you need not be all these three alone, because sometimes, even though you may be differently abled, you can be superbly capable. Today, my friends, is one such person I think has achieved so much but deserves much, much more. A story of inspiration and statutory warning. This story will change your life. With me is Mr. Chetan. Vanakkam and welcome, sir. How are you?
Vanakkam, Rajiv. Thanks for inviting me here.
Thank you for coming, sir. Thank you very much for coming. You know, sometimes when you scroll through Instagram, when you read the newspaper, there comes a story where you say like, I never knew this person ever existed. And I came across you like that and I was thinking, where are we? How can we not know this man, Chetan? And today what I want to do, sir, is in simple ways have your biography on camera. That's what I want to do. We'll start off by Chetan speaking about Chetan, right? Define today to me, who is Chetan?
Well, Chetan is somebody who's hitting his 40s in just a couple of months, but lived with a very strong dream, stayed very committed and dedicated to the dream. I think more than my dream, it was a mother's dream, which I took as a very strong promise to make it happen. And today I proudly stand as the only differently able driver in the country, and rather the one in Asia to win a championship without two legs. And all my life I've raced only with the abled. I've never opted for any modifications in my car, and all the titles I have achieved all these years has just been on a level played field.
So is this a story of talent? Is this a story of a great body structure? Or is this a story of a bloody strong mind?
I think it's the strong mind I would choose here. At the end of the day, your hardware can be different from anyone else, but the software really matters.
And the software for you is the hardest. You got a very strong mind. You've got a great success story. You know, on paper, this man started off his career as a professional racer back almost 2 decades ago in 2007. Won and became a champion in 2008. But in 2017-18 was the time he drove his first race outside of India. And that career, that dream run on the circuit lasted for just 3 years, till 2020. And now in 2026, this man's going to make big, big news. I'm going to allow you to take all the limelight. But today, Chetan, let's start with the start. You were born not like any one of us. You were born special. You were born differently abled. Tell me, what was the situation then, and what was the decision then?
Well, first of all, let me start off by thanking, two important forces in my life. One is my mother. The second one is the Almighty. I live with gratitude because He brought me to this world, not ordinary but extraordinary, I will say. So I was born with a bone deformity in both my lower limbs. The doctors had advised my mother with two choices. You either leave him on a wheelchair all his life, or believe in the improvements the world is going to see. You see the technology today, the AI, how it worked. But back then, I think the simplest solutions we had was the Jaipur foot itself. And from there, we identified carbon fiber prosthetic limbs, which were designed and made in Germany and different part of the world today. So with the help of prosthetic limbs, I became a very, I'll say, active sportsman at a very young age. My mother focused more on participation than results. And the school I studied encouraged me to be part of every sport I see, right from cricket, badminton, tennis, volleyball, basketball. I played really actively.
Wow.
And can you imagine football?
Whoa, okay.
So many people, the first question, you just said you don't have both legs.
How are you playing football?
Yes. So it was okay for 1 hour of joy of playing football. I think couple of bucks, buying tapes was okay because I would end up putting these feet back together with a tape, even if it broke during a match, and cycle back home without any hassle. So I just felt that these were an advantage than a disadvantage. It's the way I perceived it and decided. Rather, I'll say I adjusted and accommodated to this. I realized that these were my flesh and bone. I live along with it. So I lived normal, like any other. I used to enjoy cycling a lot. I love solo trekking. I can ride a bike. So I've been racing cars, which many people don't do. And there's nothing that I've really not done in my life. When I look back, I think I'm happy.
I can't even do half of the things that you've done, sir. I really wouldn't dare to also do it. But what I also see, Mr. Chetan, here to be something very different here. As society, as public, we're kind of trained. If you see someone who's in your eyes not normal, right? We call it normal and all of that. When you see someone who's differently abled, give them sympathy, give them care, give them a helping hand, give them kind words. And I think your circle, all they said was do exactly what others are doing. Because you're not separate, you're not different, you're one amongst them, and maybe then you'll get better. So do you think the way society perceives all of this is wrong, not trained, not educated? People don't know how to treat someone differently abled, because that is not, yours is a success story. But every person who is differently abled, however, they also have a great success story. But somehow society fails to recognize it, and all they can give is sympathy, sadness, kind words. Shouldn't that change, sir?
I mean, then showing these emotions, of sympathy, I think you should look at providing a solution or create an opportunity
Correct.
for the people who are specially abled. It could be mentally or physically, it doesn't matter. Most of the people have gotten this perception that people who are differently abled are not mentally strong. Let me tell you, even an abled person with proper arms and legs can behave ill in his brain, because it's the way they have been brought up. If they've been brought up saying that this is your boundaries, you live within this box, you ask for anything you need, you don't go get it, you don't have to work hard, is when they become dependent, and then they start living with expectations in life, where when any situation is real, to them it might just look harsh.
Correct.
So I'll say it's the atmosphere they grow in really matters. Because at a point of time, I started accepting myself to be normal than other people. So when somebody realized I was wearing prosthetic limbs, and they would say, why would you want to stand in the line? You want a chair to sit. I'm not prepared with any answers at the moment, but all I could just do is glare. I'm like, I never asked for one. Probably I would think of working on standing properly instead of going and seeking for help, looking at assistance. So all my life, I've been depending all on myself. I had never had to depend on anybody. So I think that homework from my childhood made me the person I am
It's a
today.
great life lesson. It's a lovely life lesson for everyone.
Yes.
You know, Mr. Chetan, you said so wonderfully about the way you wanted to be an equal. You never wanted anything more. But I think, sir, I beg to differ on this, that you deserve something more. Your story for the country, for society, for people, for what you have achieved on paper itself, forget the disadvantages and the advantages. I think a lot of people have let you down. And I can say this on behalf of the media. I think we're looking in the wrong direction. We're looking for sensationalism, not heroism. And today in front of me may not be a sensational breaking news story. In front of me is heroism. I think we're not looking there. Whether it's the sponsors, they're looking for ROI, return on investment. But here I would say there's a reward for intent. That's what we should be looking at. The government has to back a sport. The government has to back sports people for our country. And that's missing, sir, today. Don't you feel let down that you did everything you could do, but nobody stood by you? You were in that track. You were in that car. Little did you realize you were all alone. No one's watching. And sadly, no one's caring.
I never saw it as a problem till the recent years. Because for the last 2 decades, I've been inside a race car. I only focused on results. Never felt, that I should pause and, give a tap on my shoulder, feel that pride. I was scared to do that. I was scared that I will slow down. Because in a fast sport, you need to be really quick, and the way you act, the way you want to progress, the way you plan your things, got to be really progressive. You can't sit down. Because I have seen, friends who have raced with us at a point of time, but they could never endure for a long time, probably 2-3 years, and they're gone. They were missing some element which the sport requires. So it could be a talent, it could be a consistency, or it could just be the money itself. So if you don't do your planning properly, it's not going to happen. And in my sport, I did think about, why am I not recognized? And that was the moment I felt that I was getting slower. So that was a very rare situations I would undergo, and I decided to keep those thoughts away. Just be consistent in driving. Because talking about the categories, when I spoke to a friend recently, he had asked me, what do you race? And I had to pause for 10 seconds because I had to count the number of categories I drive. Can you believe most of the people don't even know that racing exists in India, because a country is, they favor cricket. Even football wasn't that, celebrated for that matter. So racing was considered a rich man's sport. Only the rich people could afford it. Yes, that is the dark truth about the sport. You can't escape that. But however, the sport itself, the fraternity of motorsports, started settling into a comfort zone, where as long as racing events are happening and racing meets are happening, where racing meets are considered more like a family get-together, not really seen as a sport initially when I started. And yes, I did see a lot of improvement coming down the line. In 2011, 12, 13, we saw Formula 1 in India, where I got the opportunity to also drive in the support race. There were 4 to 5 Indian drivers, and I was one among them. So getting that one opportunity and driving, basically I was driving within the community. I was not spoken about outside. And I realized that very late, where the sponsors who really support you start demanding for it, because they have to encash over the kind of sponsorships they do for you. And when I look for the support really doesn't exist. It's more like they appreciate what I do, they encourage me to drive, but rather chose not to talk about it. Now there could be two angles to this, two different perceptions which can be perceived here. One is a differently abled winning a race with the able could be a question about the capacity of the drivers already existing in India. Now that's harsh. But now let's look at the other side of it. He won because he has experience of 20 years. So I had to sharpen my skills over the last 20 years to be the kind of driver who finishes in the front. At a point of time, I used to finish in the back, but I learned, I practiced, I gave a lot into I invested a lot of time and money into my driving, which brought me to the place I am today. So I sit in a car. Sometimes I don't need practice. It's a muscle memory which plays and still puts me on a podium.
When did you decide that yes, I can play football, I enjoy cycling, I enjoy playing different sports, but I'm going to make this my career? Because that's something nobody would even expect. You are getting into a sport that's very expensive, takes a lot of time to achieve success, highly risky to your life. You chose that sport. Now, the question is, are you so brave? Are you just lucky? Or are you that foolish to do something like that? And that's what a common man would look at you and say, sir.
I mean, another category I would put myself into is a challenger. So I like to take up challenges. You know, when somebody says it's tough, and especially when somebody says no, you cannot, I go and do it. So, well, many people have asked me why motorsports, why not anything else like sitting behind a desk or even playing something which is not that physical. But you want to be a somebody out there. You got to do extraordinary things. Because the moment when I was brought into this world with a condition which is not common in many families, and I'm a very young mother taking the decision. I remember my uncles telling me that my mother used to challenge them, saying that this boy is going to become a somebody. I'm not going to let him be a nobody sitting down there. So he can choose what he wants, but we make sure he excels in that. So the best thing which my mother allowed me to do is participate into every activity I saw. So right from arts to even dance, or let it be any sport, she wanted me to participate very actively. And that gave me that confidence that, I'm normal. I can do it. In fact, the very few, the initial years of racing, many people didn't know about my deformity. The competitors, because I'm not driving around and walking around with a shorts or a boxer. I'm suited up and I'm driving like anybody else. I've never opted for any modification in the car. So even on the podium, they wouldn't realize. If somebody had to closely look at me, they might assume that I had a fall and I'm just kind of limping a little bit. But nobody really imagined that a boy with two prosthetic limbs would go out there and win a race. So I let that stay as it is, as a fact. But in 2011 is when, it came out on the news. So my competitors, my fellow competitors, the organizers came, everybody. I was scared. I didn't know how to answer them, but they were extremely happy for what I was doing. So that little encouragement allowed me to stay in the sport. So if I wouldn't say it was complete injustice from my sport, but there was encouragement. So I never sat down and cried that I was losing out on something. And when people ask me why do this, there is a point when you need to stop. That's why my family would beautifully answer that I was matured enough to understand the moments where you need to choose between your life and taking that risk. I would choose life, because I'm blessed with a beautiful family today. I need to think about them also. But when I'm in a car, it's 100%. We all go for the win. And when people ask me, why do you still go on? I'll say it's a discipline which keeps me going. I know I'm not going to do anything stupid because I've mastered the sport, this art of driving in the last 2 decades. I think I'm good at it. So I know I can come back in one.
You're a liar. You're not good. You're great. You are bloody great at it. Chetan, tell me, as a child, what was your routine like? How did you treat this disability into normalcy? That of course people made you feel normal, but how do you remember the first time you were walking with prosthetics? Do you remember the first time you actually kicked that football? Do you remember the first time you actually put your feet on the cycle and pedaled? Do you remember all of this? And when did you realize that I wish it was not like this? Because today you take it in a very positive angle, but internally as a child, you'd always look at someone else and say, I should have had that as well. You look up at the sky and say, why me? You may question your mother and say, what went wrong? This is normal. Every child thinks like that. A hero doesn't think like that. But you were a child before you became a hero. Do you remember those days where you questioned yourself, fought for the answers, and seeked for justice? Do you remember that?
Purely an assumption. I never had thought about that. Well, I'll say the peers you study with, the friends you make in your neighborhood. When everybody says you're normal, it's a blessing.
Absolutely, sir.
I was probably blessed with such people around. I was surprised that nobody would actually sit down and ask me to even show my legs or how it feels to be wearing these. I used to remember like these funny moments where people say, Macha, I get into a brawl, one kick from you can save my life there.
That's why you had good friends, sir, because they needed you more than you needed them.
So one of the famous series we had then was RoboCop.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that's how people would actually connect me there into situations. So I always felt strong. And I never asked this question, why me? I said, thank you for choosing me instead, Because if this is being taken away, because today we have so much of technology, I could actually get those flesh and bones just like you and still walk around. In fact, this was advised to my mother by a senior orthopedic surgeons. And they said, your son can be normal. We have the technology to make it. She came back home very excited. I was stumped. I said, see, this is the last time we're going to have this conversation. We're not going to have such kind of transplantations or whatever you're talking about, because I'm not going to pay attention to it also. The moment I get anything like that done, I was 30 back then. I said 30 years of my identity is wiped off.
Snatched away.
Don't let that happen. Today it's a blessing to be born this way, because I'm getting the opportunity to inspire a lot of people.
A lot of people.
They could be physically, differently able, or they might be mentally differently able, or rather they're just normal, but they're living with a lot of boundaries. So I'll say this whole story is not about a boy going and winning races in a luxurious sport. I'll say he chose to do something which is out of the comfort zone.
Exactly.
So that it becomes inspirational story for a lot of people whenever they're let down or sitting down thinking that they cannot, or looking at restrictions around them. My story could help them a little bit.
In fact, it helps everyone. And I take a little moral from your story already. The first time on the track in 2007. Now that's every racer's dream come true, right? That's what you want to do. How it was for the first time on the track, and how it was to be on that podium and all eyes on you saying, this guy is a champion.
Yeah. So when I got into the sport, the first set of advices I got from some wise people, including my mother, said, you're not going to be an overnight Schumacher.
It'll take a few nights, but just wait.
Maybe a couple of years. So I was prepared. I didn't go with any expectation to win, but only to participate. So when I first started racing, it wasn't easy, not as far as the driving is concerned, but a lot of the things in the sport, as far as the sport is concerned, because in fact, the federation felt that I could be a potential danger to other drivers. But then it was proven with a couple of practices I've done on the track. People had witnessed it and put a word across to the federation that, I'm capable to drive these cars. It's if something has to break in my prosthetic limb and I had to cause some danger in the race, I'll relate it to somebody having a muscle cramp while driving. It can happen to anyone. But at least the day I realize I am not safe, before anybody could advise, I'm going to step out. But for so many years, what I practiced the most is to be capable like the other drivers. First thing I practiced in the sport is the safety protocols, where the driver is supposed to be out of the car within 6 seconds. And probably run 5 meters away from the car. You don't know what kind of situations you're going to be in. Now, I've been in a burning car. I've been in a car which was upside down. But I came out without a scratch. It's part and parcel of the sport. But when I was able to demonstrate those kind of safety protocols, it made me understand that my commitment was really strong and I can go further on to this in the sport. So there were people, who have supported me through my journey. Who in 2009 I met my first coach. Until then I was just an amateur. I went for a 2-day camp in Coimbatore. I was trained under Akbar Ibrahim, who was a former president of the federation. And then in 2009, I drove my Formula Maruti championship. I remember that championship, is very special to me. The first time I realized that there was racing in India was when I tuned into Doordarshan and I saw Ajith Kumar racing the Formula Marutis. So I dragged my mom in front of the TV and I told her, there is motorsports in India and you're seeing it. She's like, you should find out where the track is, because my mom is actually a car enthusiast.
Oh, okay.
So she was like, you should actually find out. She was very excited. I was quite convinced that, okay, now she's got a clear image of where I can be standing. And I found out where this track was and did my homework. With the help of my schoolmate Feroz, who actually kept his promise of taking me to the racetrack. In 2009, after I got coached by Akbar, I won the championship. Out of the 6 races in the Formula Maruti category, I had 5 wins and a second place. And from there, I was more confident that I could climb up the ladder. And I didn't miss a single category in India. So starting from the Formula Maruti, the Formula 1300, which was earlier the Formula Swift also, the Formula LGB4, the Formula BMW version 1, the version 2, the FIA Formula 4, the version 1, the version 2, the Formula 1600, the Formula 2000, the Formula Hyundais, Formula Masters.
You've got a great memory if you know so much. You remember so many things. You've done it all.
Top 3 title in every category I drove.
Wow.
There was a good side of it that yes, I pulled out the results.
Yeah.
The bad side is I was spending too much of time over each category. Just for that achievement, I wanted the top 3 in a title. I didn't want the 4th or the 5th. At least the top 3 overall. We're not talking about one
race. It's a season.
It's a whole season. So 20 years, sticking around consistently, I'll say that was the biggest race, not the ones inside.
Very nice. Very, very well said. What took you so long to get onto an international circuit? 2009, you were news, you were this prodigy, you were the next big thing. People were watching you, people were recognizing you then. Would it take anybody such a long time to leave the shores of India and go there? Because if things were normal, right? If things were, people are recognizing talent, government would come in, sponsors would come in and say, this man is representing us, our country. Put him on the international scale, put him on the globe, let the world watch this Indian sensation. It took you way too long, sir. What happened?
Well, that's how the world is actually.
Is that world or is that politics?
The world, every I'll say, every journey, I'll say, profession or a career will have some kind of politics which is involved inside. You can't expect every day to be a sunny day. And for a lot of people, motorsports is survival. It's bread and butter for the table. For a lot of other people, it's passion. And for few people like me, I'll say it is a message we strongly want to prove to the world. And this is the only medium I found where I can make the big noise. See, I love the other games like chess or table tennis. I do, play all these games at home. But I don't think I would have made such a big noise, or that strong message wouldn't have been delivered if not for motorsports.
Correct.
So motorsports, definitely with a differently able driver winning a race, is a head turner.
It is. It's a sensational headliner,
So I would say in between my career, around 2015 sorts, I realized somebody winning a race is news, but I winning a race is a story. So now I need to go sell my story out there to get sponsors. So I was able to do that. I had a backup of a good sponsor called QNet, they're an e-commerce company. They strongly supported, they believed in the story. Correct. And they believed on the purpose, because I strongly believe and agree that each one of us should have a strong purpose. You got no purpose, you're wasting every day. It's a blessing to wake up in the morning. And you get that chance, you remember your purpose and go forward. Work towards your purpose, find new opportunities to make that things really happen out there. So when Peter Allnut was introduced to me in 2015, he was a very prominent figure in Indian motorsports. He contributed a lot along with Naren Karthikeyan, and he had designed a lot of the racing cars which currently are active in the national championships. So we lost him a couple of years ago. So he managed me and he mentored me a bit. We would travel together to different countries and practice. And while he was trying to put my head into the sport, he would taunt me with the statement, which I was disagreeing in the initial times. He said it, but later on I did agree. He said, "You were born on the wrong side of the planet. If you were on other side of the planet, you would be celebrated. People would be walking in with money to support you and to fuel your dream, but it's not going to happen here. Do you realize that?" I said, "Yeah, I do realize that." And he was encouraging me to step out of the country and start racing. And that's when I got introduced to a lot of engineers outside the country. And I used to do a lot of practice in Malaysia. And wow, I was quite surprised that I was capable to compete on a international platform. And in 2017, so I met my lady luck, okay, who I fell in love with and got married. Her name is
Love at first drive or love at first sight?
Love at first sight. So,
which is scarier, the drive or the sight?
I mean, I can't really
compare the two because you love racing more.
I mean, when I saw her, yes, I did fall in love at the first sight, and she respected what I did and what I'm planning to do. She respected every dream of mine. I think that encouragement was a very integral part during that phase, because that phase, you're hearing that the sport in India is not going to support you, and there is another voice saying that you're born on the wrong side of the planet, and now comes a sweet voice saying that don't stop, I want you to go further. That's Manasa, who comes forward, and says that she was a beauty pageant winner back then, and she was going to represent India for another pageant, and she walks up to me and says, we should get married. So it was quite a scary, experience.
It's marriage.
Because I only thought of myself to be a racing driver.
Correct. You don't look at the other perspectives of life.
Grave. I never got distracted with those kind of things. Yes, of course, I always had my share of fun in different areas. But, when she had told me on my face, I want to make your dreams my dreams. That statement really hit me.
Wow.
I said, nobody's really said this.
Yeah.
And she stood up to those words. Even during our engagement, she took it as a commitment that you start racing outside the country. And that very same year, in 2018, after I got married in Feb, I think by October, I was already ready to race.
Perfect.
In my first international series, which was the MRF Challenge. I was the only Indian driver on the grid for the next 2 seasons there. And my God, I think everything changed. Me becoming a bronze in the FIA categorization, getting that motivation that I can drive any damn category in the planet.
Wow.
So there was no stopping. Everything, in fact, I realized at that point of time when I started driving abroad, it's important to get detached from your problems or what you assume as a problem. Because the more closer I look at an objective, it's overlaying everything around me.
Correct.
Let it be my career, opportunities, the options I could find to make money, and the way I should be leading my healthy life, my family, everything. So motorsports looked as everything.
Yeah.
I started taking things too personal, about opportunities which were stripped away from me. So, but the moment I got detached and zoomed out, I realized motorsports is just one
part of you.
Life. And it's not that a big problem I should run away from, or I should break my head. I can deal it because the other things looked much more beautiful, encouraging, and more promising. So today, motorsports is one of the cassettes in my deck, so I can choose when I want to do it.
But that cassette plays the loudest. We will speak about that. But it is so wonderful to see you say Lady Luck, and love is lucky. If you have true love, I think you're extremely blessed and very, very lucky. Motorsport can be one man in a car, but sometimes it's so great to have a partner who's not in that car, but still with you. And that's such a wonderful story that we
She
speak
told me
about.
she was a mechanical engineer before I got married. And I assumed, that someday she would come and help me out at the pits. Later that I realized she was good at achieving her marks, but she doesn't remember what she's doing.
This word racing has become extremely popular, courtesy a star. They say Tale, but he said, don't call me Tale. Now we're into racing. Ajith Kumar, being a very active, successful participant on the global stage with racing, has made every common man start looking at the sport of racing. Finally, there have been spurts like this. Narayan Karthikeyan was there, Karun Chandok was there, you were obviously there, and Ajith Kumar now has brought the masses into the sport. Would you think that finally the moment has come of recognition of motorsports?
Finally, it has come. Well, in the world we live in today, I think a girl dancing on middle of Mount Road, her video is going to go viral than a guy winning a championship. That's the blunt truth today. But we have to depend on these mediums to be heard outside. And when such battle is going on, because we're talking about 80 years of existence of the sport in the country, and nobody has a clue of where the racetracks are really are, there comes our icon, who has been a role model and inspiration for a lot of the drivers in India, riders in India. He was a very active motorsports competitor before he actually became an actor. And it feels so nice to see somebody who's reliving that life again, because it looked like he went on a break for acting and he's back.
Yeah, he's back. He's loving what he's doing. He's enjoying the passion, the rush, the success, and the glory on the track.
And many do witness with the support of the media and the clips which have been telecasted. He's himself. He's not pretending to be somebody. He's loving the sport so much. He's supporting the sport so much because with the money he has and with the encouragement, rather I'll say he'll have from the teams who are inviting him, he can be a stardom, somebody who's with a lot of head weight and just doing his driving, doing his acting. But he goes out there and talks to people about the sport and asking them to encourage the
sport.
Indian drivers.
Yes.
Because he understands the pain which any driver or a rider would be going through in the sport here. He says that you need to do what you love the most, and that's how your identity is created. Right. You don't see something as so cool and then you take up that profession. You do what you're good at. And that I could relate very closely. In fact, such coincidence that most of the categories he had driven, I followed the same footsteps. And yes, he's a star I always admired watching on screen. At the same time, very nervous when I got a chance to meet him also.
How was that? Tell me about that.
No, the 2 times I got a chance, I ran away from there.
Oh.
Yes.
Why would you run away? You can race away.
There is always that one character, who, you're looking up to as a star, you get nervous. But however, I'm so glad that at least he's aware of who I am today. And I'm getting the opportunity to actually see him race once again.
Superb.
So he passing a strong message is actually helping us.
For the sport, it's a big thing in India.
Yeah, what we were striving all these years is become easy. Now when we go speak to someone and introduce ourselves as a racing driver, they're like, oh, like Ajith. I'm like, it's okay. It feels good still. At least our sport do exist in India. And with events like the FIA Formula 4, the Indian Racing Festival, and the efforts of the tire manufacturers, the events they're organizing, our sports have been alive. Even during the pandemic, we were still racing with the protocols which were set by the government. So the sport didn't go away anywhere. It was always there. But thanks to such personalities for helping us reach the message to the public.
Sports and cinema are two things that are extremely popular and powerful in our country. And like you're saying, an actor back to racing. How about a racer acting? Is that also on your card that your story is so interesting? Would you like your story to be a movie?
Well,
imagine starring Ajith Kumar. Very interesting.
It's too much to actually think of.
No, but you can think and do the impossible, sir. So
No, one day, truth cannot be hidden. It's got to be spoken out, and people will know my story and want to know more about me. And probably not the first time I'm hearing this question, biopics or whatever. I'm not done yet. Imagine. Now you see Dhoni.
yeah.
Movie Dhoni came, but his
And he
career was not over. He
went
continued
on.
playing.
Yeah.
When people asked him, when you want to retire, he said, what retirement? So now, can you make Dhoni part 2? Now he's still not done from what we see, we don't know what's his next plan. So similarly, I never felt that I've got halfway of what I wanted to achieve. There's much more I want to achieve. And when I was also approached by some people in the Paralympic committee, the others outside the sport, they were in a shock to meet me. They were like, we never heard of you. Why is that nobody spoke about you? And of course, I had to save my fraternity. I had to say, I was busy racing, so I was hiding.
But that's not the truth. You wish the fraternity actually came forward, don't you, sir?
Yeah, but after I removed my helmet and looked around, I realized that. But while my helmet was on, I really didn't bother about all those. But at a point of time, I do realize that, I wish the federation or the fraternity did much more than what they're supposed to do. We're not asking them a favor.
It's their duty.
I'm not looking at rewards. I'm not looking at subsidies or grants. All I'm saying, recognize. That's the only fuel any athlete looks for, any artist or any, a professional can go further, with that motivation only when they're
Encouraged and recognized.
Yeah, recognized. So
Did you approach them a couple of times?
I did, but
What happened? Who did you approach? Who did you approach?
Not one or two. Quite a lot of people in the federation. All they would say is, we're extremely happy with the way you're driving. We're very proud of your achievements. We would love to encourage you. But if you're looking at some kind of recognition, because it has to start off with your home before the world recognizes, they say they don't have the powers.
They don't have the powers. The federation of the country doesn't have the power.
Yes, or sadly, they don't have the interest. So, I have to stop the blame game, get back into the car again. Because I either sit out there doing dharna with a board, or I just shut up and just do my driving. Because one day, as I'm going to keep doing what I'm good at, the world is going to see. Truth cannot be hidden for too long. And yes, people do want to ask them questions of, why hasn't this guy been spoken about?
Correct.
But I'll say, let's none of us waste time over it. It will come out the day it has to.
It has to come out.
And this year marks as a very special year because I took decisions that, I don't stay silent anymore. We go start talking about it. Started reaching out to new brands. And the media is where I'm actually stepping out finally to speaking of my story and speaking of the capacities I have, because in the past I have sent my applications for the World Motorsports Games and never did I get any response. So that is clearly, I'll say, is not a good decorum to be maintained, followed by a federation. But nevertheless, I didn't want to waste time cribbing about it. I would just want to go on further.
Your racing is doing the talking for sure, sir.
Yes, because I'm zooming out and I realized I'm actually wasting my time with one small problem here. And why don't I shift myself to another country to race and do well out there?
Well, I really hope India doesn't lose this gem that we have. I really hope you're not thinking on those lines, because if you do it, that's a great professional call that you take. But if India loses someone like you, it's a shame on the federation. It's a shame for the people. It's a shame for the government. It's disrespect from the media to not recognize someone like you. Our job is not to go behind big boss winners and celebrities. Our job is to tell a common man's heroic story. And if we don't do that, we're failing in our duty, because you did yours. Maybe we are failing in ours, sir.
As much I respect Peter Allnut, who managed my profile for a couple of years, the experience he had and the things he taught me, I really respect a lot. But I definitely want to prove someday that his statement...
Yeah. You were on the right side of the planet, in the right country, in the right city.
I want to prove it wrong. Where, I still have the belief that the sport in the country can get its right image it deserves. With new improvement in the sport, new facilities coming in, I somewhere got a little bit of hope. But however,
No,
it's still a battle every
no,
day.
I must tell you that on behalf of this boy from Chennai and on behalf of Chennai Live, I can tell you that that war and the battle that you're not fighting with or against the people. They're on your side. We're making it louder. We're making it stronger. There's no one who will lose this war. We will win this together and you will be the champion. We're backing you. So I really wish this happens very, very soon. Let's talk about one thing. Since you're in such an upfront mood about the federation and the media and the government at large, Arjuna Award, Khel Ratna, these are things that we should be speaking about, but maybe we're talking too much. There was this man who at one point of time, maybe a decade ago, said his dream, an entrepreneur, a racing enthusiast, and a patriot of the country, said that I want India's flag on the racing track. Vijay Mallya is who we are talking about. In a recent podcast, he said that that was my vision. However, in that good, noble vision, there seems to be more an entrepreneurial interest, an investment for my business and brand growth. Because in that Force India, which he built, and quite successfully as well for some time, there was no Indian representative. There was no Indian racer. There was no Indian test driver as well. Do you question the intent? Because to be very honest, if you do, it's fine. Racers like Narayan Karthikeyan have gone on record and said he didn't give any Indian the fair opportunity. He wanted his brand on a global forum, not Indian sports people on the global forum. What's your view on this one?
I mean, from my understanding, looking at that whole episode of Force India being there, in my opinion, I feel that it was never about favoring the Indian drivers, but to put India on the world motorsports map. So it could be just the team itself, because they are a promising lineup he already had, in mind. He was never against any of the Indian talents, because Narayan Karthikeyan was already a prominent driver in Formula One. He was with HRT back then, and we had Cosworth, we had Karun Chandok driving in that team. Everybody knew each other. And with already a lineup which was present for Force India, I think he had to put his importance there and play his cards right. Because he's not running the teams solely by himself. It's a team. He's got people from other countries also working on the platform. So there are other recommendations and advices to play it smart and right. And Force India was quite a famous team.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
but without any Indian forces in the team.
Unfortunately, we couldn't see Indian drivers in it. But the whole intention of at least putting India on the world motorsports map, was something sensible he did. And especially when we had the Indian GP.
Yeah,
seeing our
that was a
own
big
brand.
one, sir.
So that was special.
Yeah, it was.
More than Narayan Karthikeyan driving or Karun Chandok driving, I think seeing that Force India was something for people out there. There are people who didn't know motorsports, but just because Vijay Mallya said he's putting a team, everybody came and watched the race.
Yeah. So now you tell me, it's great to see India have its glory there. But people don't also understand that this is a physically extremely demanding sport. Mentally and physically. Tell me, how does one train and what is it that people don't know? Right from the neck muscles to the posture to what you eat to the mind alertness that you have, every millisecond, not second, every millisecond counts. Talk to me about how do you train yourself as a racer physically, mentally, and what's the discipline you have, sir? Off season, on season.
More than the physical well-being, I think it's a mental state is something we train constantly. Being focused in what we are doing, because something which I practiced in my childhood is completion of a process. I go one by one tasks. Sometimes I struggle multitasking like my mother does. She's a multipreneur. And eventually, before I got into motorsports, we couldn't afford to get into motorsports until, my mother was the sole breadwinner of the house, until I started supporting during my teenage itself. Started working along with her, and then I never went for employment. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. So I realized that for a healthy mind, what is very important is money. It always connects back to money. Money is everything. So the moment I started setting a professional life for myself, my passion and the plans towards it and looking after myself was very clear. It's more like I zoomed out from it. I understood, yes, I spent so many hours on business. I spent so many hours on training myself, do a lot of endurance, avoided all these fatty meat, never had any of these meat, even though I've also, I'm part of the food business. I've never tasted this mutton biryani I have, because I don't eat mutton biryani.
My boys can never be racers then, sir. They love the
But
biryani.
let me tell you, I stick around with egg biryani. That's my favorite. See, I never had restrictions in my meal. See, end of the day, you're going to burn out whatever you're going to eat. As long as you can stay comfortable inside a cockpit, I think you're good. Okay, we don't need to exert ourselves, because I'm not going to be running a marathon. I've got to make sure my bolts and nuts all over my body is intact and not rusted anywhere. Our body is like this rubber band. You don't stretch it quite often, and suddenly you stretch it, it's going to snap, it's going to break. So the years of driving I've been doing started actually preparing my body for higher and higher categories. The longer I drove in this category got me ready for a shorter race in the next category. And I would go train for a higher category on a faster car, so that the one I'm actually driving is a slower one, is easier. And if I have a race which is 30 minutes, I would go train while watching the video for an hour. So those kind of mental training is very important. The more you drive, your muscle memory is improving. So it's an investment. The more seat time, they say. Yes, it is expensive, but that's what we do. I have to hustle between work and racing, so I can afford to be sitting in a car every year. And I think with that healthy mind, there's a long-term planning which you can do in the sport. Because right now, I'm 39, I really didn't feel that I should stop. That probably I can answer that later, but that whole interest of looking after ourselves, taking care of the body like a temple. How much I invest my time into my body. I think today we are filled with a lot of people in our society, our relatives, people at our home itself. They work till they're 50. They save a lot of money, and they end up spending that money for medical bills again. So I'll say, instead you start looking after yourself, even now, not too late. Till you're 45, you do something really active and you should take up some sport or some form of fitness. It can be yoga, it can be running, it can be anything. Today, pickleball has become a new trend. Thank God, people, even the
Have you played that also and championed in that also?
not yet. I'm going to explore that next. So I'm saying everybody is participating. Participation is important, so that later you can enjoy life.
Correct, sir.
You're not spending on medical bills.
I've often wondered, how does one racer sit so long, so alert in the car? How do you train your reactive time, right? How do you train that? How do you keep your neck in that position? And people don't understand the suit is quite heavy as well. And what happens during one of these long races if nature calls you? And I really need to go. Give me a moment, please. 1 second. You can't. No one's ever taken that. The pit stop is so small. You have no pit to go to, sir. So how do you manage all of that?
Yeah, this is not your regular highways. You can stop the car and step out. I mean, yeah, see, we are so focused into a race. We're racing to win, and you stop counting laps when you're driving constantly. So your bladder, kidney, ribs, everything is forgotten generally. But yeah, there are occasions where even Formula One drivers who are sitting in a car for close to 2 hours will have to urinate. So they generally do in the suit itself.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's something we never knew. Oh.
At least I was not put into that situation yet, because my races lasted not more than 40 to 45 minutes, so I would be back. And sometimes even when I realize my bladder is full, when I just get into the car, I think by the time the 5 lights come on,
You forget the world. All you have is the steering wheel, the race.
yeah, and somebody has to remind me, you said you wanted to go to a wash before the race. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm fine now. I forgot that I had to even. So I think it's like you enjoy the process, something you really love doing so much. You all these things, even pain or everything is
It's
just gone out of your
forgotten.
brain.
The passion takes over everything. We were talking how risky it can be as well. What's the closest you've got to fatality? Today you're smiling about, you said, I actually ran out of the car in 6 seconds. Those 6 seconds could have made a big difference between you being here and not here. To a story being written and a story being ended. Right? It's a big difference, sir. Every second matters.
I think just for this one answer, I need to put the volume down when my family is listening.
We will ensure that the ears are shut, but the volume is not down. What was that like, sir? What was that?
I mean, see, these dangers are part and parcel of the sport. We accepted it that motorsports is dangerous. We are entering at our own risk. Yeah, I have been inside burning car.
What is that incident? Where was it? When was it?
I think my throttle body started spitting out fuel, and my engine area started just, burning. It was fire.
When was this?
This was around 2015 or 14. And much before that, I remember Formula Maruti, the gasket blew and again the car was on fire until somebody waved and said, your car is on fire. I'm like, okay.
You didn't realize it?
No, but I just found a sound difference of the engine. There's something off. That's when you look at the rearview mirror and you see flames. I managed to step out of it without any hassle. I've gone head-on collisions into barriers thanks to the safety equipments we wear, like the head and neck resistance support. We have the fireproof suit, which is actually light.
It's light.
They are heavy suits. I remember my first suit was extremely heavy. I felt like I was a hanger for the suit. I was this lean boy with a huge suit. I didn't find a suit for my size. Then later on, today I wear a suit which is extremely light. It's called Zero by HRX, not Hrithik Roshan's. It is another international brand. So as drivers, we tend to burn out a lot of calories. We are losing weight while driving. So, especially in Bahrain, it's a very hot place. And day as well as night sessions, we were experiencing. And I had this fitness tracker, tied to my wrist. And every time I got out of the car, I was so curious to see how many calories I was burning. I was shocked to see more than 1,000 calories a session. Okay, so we are having 5 sessions a day.
How long is the session for?
35 to 40 minutes.
Oh.
Okay, I'm like, now this workout I enjoy. Now you ask me to stand in the gym and repetitively, systematically I'm going to start yawning there. But this burnout, I like it. So when people say, how do I lose weight? Give me some technique. I said, eat what you want, sleep whenever you want. But come drive a race. At least.
Oh, we didn't know this. We didn't know this part of it.
It's an easier way, but you got to do it every day. So your pockets have to be deep for that.
Yeah. And the passion has to be high for that.
Yes. So none of these incidents on track, especially when I was, had these fire hazards or let it be a crash, I never let it affect me, first of all. In fact, I would take it as a learning curve. I see how the car crashed. I remember the way, as per, step by step, how I crashed in and what went wrong. That is all I think about. I'm like, not, oh my God, I'm into the wall. No, it just happens. How did it happen? So it's more like, I'm always...
Rewind, replay and redo, not the same way, but redo it differently.
Exactly. So especially when you have support from home is very encouraging. But I remember my mom who managed to get a clip of me getting out of a burning car. And when she called up to us, I knew, okay, she's going to ask me if I was okay and if do you really have to do this? That was not the conversation. All she asked me was, will the car be ready for tomorrow? No matter how long it's going to take, stay back at track, make sure the car is ready for tomorrow's race. See, I think that encouragement...
Exactly. The way you are being perceived, the way people are saying, look at this way, that's a huge thing, sir.
Yes. So like relating this to a previous question, yes, my family do think about, why isn't this boy being recognized by his own federation? Now, what's wrong? They never, gave me the silly advices of, start looking at other things in life. Motorsports is not a thing. Hey, come on, you've traveled so many kilometers, just another kilometer away, you're going to reach the destination, but there's no board. So are you going to stop there or are you going to go a little bit more? further. So I think the mindset of going a little bit further is definitely there at home, which is very encouraging. But the most scariest moment I had on the track is when I had to take up a discussion of when I'm going to retire. That broke me down.
Who asked you this?
The same person who actually taught me how to drive a car, a race car in 2009. When I was, rather not considered into a lot of opportunities, and when I would voice out, the answers wouldn't be straightforward, but it would be harsh in different ways. And then it would end up, saying that why are you wasting your money and time here? You should think of retirement. It was very hard for me to digest that. Even bleeding with these prosthetic limbs wasn't that painful, but that was, because it felt like the whole identity was going to end. I couldn't accept it because if not for motorsports, I probably would have been known to be a cripple. I think that created my identity. It was everything for me in my life. And when I spoke to my mother, she said, let's not jump to any decisions. Okay? Let's wait and watch. So right now, let's plan for the next 2 years. And then we'll decide. If there's no improvement, then maybe you might have to consider stay prepared. But then comes our superhero. Ajith starts racing again. And then my mom calls me up when I was on the track. Hey, you saw Ajith is racing again at the age of 53. I'm like, yeah. Whichever idiot told you to stop racing, you should retire, don't pick his calls anymore.
Get back on the track,
Get back
my
on
son.
the track, Nobody, nothing, there's no age limits is what I realized now. Even last race weekend, we had Mr. Vidya Prakash.
Yeah.
At the age of 83.
Correct.
Still winning a race.
Yeah.
Now, see, passion has no limitations, especially with age, where you come from, the kind of skin, the color, nothing. It's just strong passion, dedication. It's going to make it happen someday. So when we have some good examples, I choose to pick those than the problems.
That's an art. That's a very, very strong mind as well. From here, where next? What happens now? We understand the next few months is going to be something that we all need to look forward to because you have something very, very focus driven. What's happening?
Last couple of years I wasted my time, especially the whole period where I was losing Peter. Peter wasn't doing that well. He was supposed to be down helping me run a racing academy of my own because he felt for so many years you've been driving, there are kids who are coming up to you asking you for help, but I couldn't help. I didn't know how to help. But when I started my academy in 2021, I was able to reach out to a lot of students, help them drive, mentor them, and I was able to create, podium winners also. But then again, there's a lot of crab mentality in this country, especially in motorsports. They like Chetan who pays, not Chetan who takes. So I said, it's better as a driver, this is a little bit more harsh. So I said, okay, never mind. This is not my bread and butter. I got other things I'm doing, which I've built over time. I'm into so many other businesses that I don't have to really depend on making money in motorsports, but I just want to drive. So when I came back, I realized the years I wasted. And the time I was racing abroad, I was more motivated. When I look at that Chetan and the Chetan I was in 2024, I was disturbed saying that no, I wasted time searching for problems, but not for a solution. So that's when I decided 2025 is an investment on myself where I make different plans, not doing the same thing again, same mistakes again. So I decided to document a couple of records. So a couple of organizations, including Guinness, got in touch. So I was never excited to take up everything at one shot. So I said, I decide the timeline. I decide what has to happen when. So this year is going to be documenting all those. And next year, 2026, I'm going to be coming back into the international arena, holding the Indian flag out there. So the couple of series I'm trying to consider. And the sponsors have been extremely delighted the moment I said I'm going to do Malaysia, not India. They said, finally, gods have heard us. Because they're very supportive to what I do.
So nice.
But they felt that I should be out of the pit. They knew what I was going through here. And with a lot of records I want to achieve and the international races I want to keep driving for years, I'm only looking out for more support.
Yeah.
So the support has to come from various areas, because at the end of the day, what we can commit as athletes is represent the brand everywhere we go, wherever we are. We are representing the brand and trying to give back the best, for return of investment, if you see. Because as I said, I'm just not news. I can be a story. Now, which brand is going to be over me? That is something which should become a topic.
I'll tell you what, I don't know about the brands, I don't know about companies, I don't know about organizations, I don't know about business, but you are a brand story for our country, sir. You really are a brand story. To see you back on the circuit, to see you back on the racing track, to see you carrying the flag of India will make every honest Indian feel so proud. And I can tell you there'll be millions of us wanting to see you on that podium, wanting to see that you defy every norm and you truly stand for that nothing is impossible. Chetan, like you say, you are a story, and you're a story I believe that everyone must watch, must know, and this is a classic in the making. Thank you very much, Chetan. It was an absolute pleasure to hear your story. And more than thanking you, I would like to thank three very important people. Not my producer, cameraman, or editors. I'd like to thank the Almighty. I'd like to thank your mother. I'd like to thank your lady luck, as you said, because without them, I think this man would not be doing what he's doing today. So I'd like to thank three of them. And more importantly, I'd like to hopefully in advance thank the people of India to support you, cheer you, and that celebration will be with every Indian, and that won't be alone. Thank you very much for coming on Chennai Live. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is Chennai Live, Radio Redefined.